Actually,
Okay, we are here with Justin Stein in this post masterclass interview. So in this masterclass, in this post masterclass interview, I would like to dive into some questions and topics that you bring during the masterclass, so that maybe you can give us a better, how I can say, explanation about what came out yesterday. Okay.
thanks so much, Graziano. Yeah, I'm really happy for the invitation, and I love talking about this stuff. So I'm interested to know what questions you have. And
yes, as I said, it was a very good masterclass, and I want to thank you. I had very good feedbacks, so I'm very happy that we could organize it, and thank you for this. So I prepared here some questions. Okay, I will now bring the first one. You talked about different Reiki Ryoho style yesterday, no? So what basically came out that Usui was not the founder of the Reiki Ryoho. He just maybe changed it on his style, but the Reiki Ryoho already existed. And you bring some example, you show some practitioner and Reijitsus, and also they wrote books. And so you talked also, they use one hand generally, not two hands, and you talk about prana. Okay, so the question is this: in the West, in the people that practice Reiki, they say they don't use their prana, they don't use ki. They use just this universal energy. They don't give nothing. They don't take nothing. And one of my questions always was, how it's possible? Where goes my prana or my ki to make, okay, an empty vessel so that another kind of energy can pass? Apart, I think it's one energy and you cannot divide it. But I would like to know what you think about it. About this topic. So we give or not prana when we make it?
Okay, so you started with a very small, very easy to answer question, and I appreciate that. I'm just kidding. That's I think one of the biggest mysteries there is, and it's something that I've been wondering myself for a long time. 15 years ago, about when I was applying for my PhD program, my master's program. This is actually the question that I had, in a sense, is about to compare Reiki practitioners who claim to be channeling universal energy and not using their own personal energy, and compare what they do with people who do, for example, external Qigong, who do healing with their hands that resembles Reiki in a lot of ways, but who do daily practice to cultivate their own internal qi and apply that qi externally. And to see, well, I wanted to know from kind of a social scientific, participant observation perspective, and from a more kind of biophysical, physiological perspective. What do you see when you look at, and not just Reiki, but also, Jorei, for example, also says that they have God's light coming out of them. They're a vessel, they have this connection with God, and they channel God's light. I mean, that there's these kind of two schools where one is saying daily practice for replenishing your own energetic system is necessary, because if not, you get drained by treating people. And other people who say, no, we have this connection with the divine source or the universal source, and we are able to channel, and we're not using our own personal chi, we can channel. And yes, as I said, I've been interested in this question for a long time. When I was applying, I think back in 2006 for PhD programs, saying I wanted to do this, they said, you can't do, this is not something you can do at our university. It's an interesting question maybe, but this is not it's not religious studies, it's not, purely kind of physics, biophysics, and I didn't have necessarily the science background. I wanted to build up that background, but I mean, it's an interdisciplinary question that I think is for, people engaged in the world of healing with chi and ki. It's a very interesting question, but it's not something we're really at the point of being able to answer, I think, from a convincing perspective. One researcher who really worked on this question is a Japanese guy named Motoyama Hiroshi. And he has a university in Southern California that does research like this. And he passed away, but he developed a number of machines that sense different types of prana and ki. And his theory is that there's basically two forms of energy. That there's ki, and there's what he calls psi energy, PSI, like psychic energy.
Okay, psychic energy.
And in his research on various types of healers, yogis, etc., he believes that when healing is done, both forms of energy are at work in the healing, and that some healers are better at using the psi energy, which it may be similar to what we think of as Reiki and not like personal ki, which he said behaves differently physically. That for example, when sending distance treatment, that's not personal ki, that's the psi energy, according to him. That because that does not degrade with distance, whereas personal ki, it's only able to be used in physical proximity. So according to, so that's one thing, but according to the Usui Reiki Ryoho tradition, right? In the early days, including in Takada's diary, right, they talk about the need to cultivate the lower abdomen, what is called the hara or the tanden. Yeah, the lower tanden, the energy center below the navel, and that is a kind, as Takada even talked about it in the 1970s in some of her classes. That is a kind of battery, and if your battery is low, then the circuit, right, or the flow, from your hands when you touch the patient is also going to be like a low wattage flow, right? She talked about it in terms of electricity, right? And so she said it's important. This is why she stressed daily self-treatment. And especially, she said, if your battery is low, what she called 1, 2, 3, 4, the positions on, I could maybe stand up and show, what, like the positions on the abdomen, right? The lower abdomen, 1, 2, 3, 4. She said is important to keep your own battery fully charged so you're able to treat well. And that model is quite different from this idea that you're never using your own energy, that you're always channeling this universal source. Okay, so and one more thing that I think is relevant here is in the Reiki meditation, right? Where in the Reiki meditation, there's a visualization of, energy, light, what have you, entering in the crown from the cosmos, right? Which is similar to the experience that Usui Sensei is said to have had on Mount Kurama, right? Where the universe, the cosmos, is said kind of touched him on the top of the head, and the energy or the Reiki, flowed into him. And so when we do the Reiki meditation and we're visualizing this kind of source, this cosmic source, giving Reiki, into our heads, down, down, down to our hara or our tanden below, the navel, filling it up. It expands with light. It expands with Reiki, and then it flows out from, or sorry. So first it condenses in the hara, then it flows out, fills our body. Maybe in some times you have your hands in gasho. It flows from your hara to your hands, and from your hands to your hara. And in all of that visualization practice and breathing and meditation, it seems that there's this replenishing your body, your own kind of center in your lower abdomen with this universal force. And from there, it flows out from your hands. And so I think, my tentative conclusions after looking at this for many years, although I'm not saying this is the truth, that, but my understanding from a historical Reiki perspective is that the practitioner who practices regularly is receiving Reiki from the cosmos, and that maybe in the body mixes with your personal chi, it augments, or your ki, it augments your personal ki, and that during practice, what's coming out of you is probably not purely one or the other, I would say, right? I would say it's likely a combination of both. And I think the problem for that they would talk about when you're like run down, when your battery is low, is that maybe then you're only using your personal ki without the universal source supplementing it, and that maybe could drain you. Because they say, right, a Reiki treatment should not feel draining, it should actually feel energizing, right? Because you're opening up to the source of Reiki, it flows through you. And so after a treatment, you yourself should feel recharged, rejuvenated. And I think the idea of your battery being low and needing to connect kind of suggests that it's not just from treating other people that you connect to the source. So there needs to be some regular practice, whether it's meditation, whether it's self-treatment, that keeps your connection strong, that keeps your battery charged, so to speak. This is my understanding after the years of research.
Yeah. And generally, in the Chinese traditional medicine, the hara or tandien is a place in which you gather your chi or ki. Mm-hmm. And another hint that I find is it's called Reiki. It's not called Rei. It means ki, in a way, have to be involved, no? Otherwise, it will be Rei. And I think it's impossible to separate. I cannot, in a way, empty my vessels from my personal energy. As much I want to connect with the universe, as much I want to bring universal cosmic energy inside me, where goes my energy? I'm alive. I breathe. I sing. I move. And I need this chi or ki.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something?
Well, yeah, I think there's a couple of things actually that made me think. I'll start with the second one first. Is this fusion, this combination, as you said, of Rei and Ki. I don't know if you've spoken with or if you're familiar with Inamoto Hyakuten of Komyo Reiki, but he talks about something very similar in his explanation. Is there's the Rei is of heaven, 10 Rei, right? The spirit, if you want to say that, of heaven. And chi is of the earth, right? And that it's in our body, humanity, standing between heaven and earth, that these meet.
Yes.
And that is the Reiki that we can participate in, is this kind of fusion of heaven and earth in us. So I think that's an interesting way to think about it.
Yes.
The first thing, though, you mentioned about the Chinese medicine and the hara or the lower tanden. And someone brought this up yesterday in the Q&A, the idea of essence, right? And the relation of, or in Chinese, jing, or in Japanese, sei, which, is traditionally thought of as a limited quantity, right? You're born with it, and through your life, you convert your essence into other forms of qi that you need for your daily function. And there's an idea that some people spend it too much and deplete themselves, and that can create serious health problems. There's an ideal of transforming your essence into what in Chinese is called shun, right, or spirit. And so bringing your essence up through Taoist meditation, through esoteric Taoist meditation. And this is part of a spiritual transformation that happens and can actually make you, your transition to no longer being alive in a physical sense, but can make you kind of become a spiritual being. There's a long tradition of that. But yeah, I think the idea of developing a strong lower tanden, I guess what I want to say is there's a lot of different types of practices in China, as you can imagine, a country with thousands of years of history. And I think it's in Japan really, though, that you see this strong emphasis on the lower abdomen and breathing with the lower abdomen and making that strong foundation for everything. This becomes very much emphasized in Usui's time. And so when you mentioned about that he was not the founder of Reiki Ryoho, that there were other Reiki Ryohos before him, in addition to other things that called themselves Reiki Ryoho, I mean, there were many other practices, similar practices, that just went by other names as well. And that idea of that the lower belly, that the hara is a foundation for all kinds of good health, that breathing practices can change your life, focusing on the lower abdomen and making a strong lower abdomen is foundational for so many things. As you said, goes way beyond Reiki and is just kind of a common understanding for so many of these types of practices. Yeah.
Yes, we could make a masterclass just of this question because it's very interesting. But let's move on. Yes, I agree with you. It's wide, and I don't think we have really maybe the tools to prove that it's like this or it's not like this, as you said, So maybe yes, it's a mix. I believe it's a mix. What my feeling is, what my experience is that I'm involved in the process. I cannot be put out. I cannot disappear. So as much I want to try to be neutral, I cannot be, because I'm thinking, I'm doing some things, so my energy is always involved. I can for sure maybe in a way find a centering that allow me to channel a more pure energy that then in the treatment or for myself with meditation, it can help me to improve. But yes.
And can I say one? I know we want to move to another question, but actually it reminded me of two more things I wanted to just say quickly.
Okay, go.
One, just from my own experience, of course, there are times where you're giving a treatment and you really feel like in the zone, like, so to speak, where you're not thinking about other things, you're present, you're breathing, you're feeling the movement through you. And so I just from an experiential level, I feel that there are times where you're more able to kind of tap in to that feeling of flow through you and not be in your head. And you're less conscious and you're more kind of in the zone. And I think there's a Japanese expression, no mind, no thought, right? Munen muso, that I think is used in the Zen tradition a lot, that I think is something that can be used to talk about that experience on some level. And when people say to surrender to this exterior power and have it work through you. That there's a long tradition of that type of thought also in East Asia. The second thing that reminded me is in terms of physiological research, there's a researcher, Anne Baldwin. I don't know if you know her. She's affiliated with William Lee Rand's Center for Reiki Research. She's also I'm not going to get this exactly right, but she has a PhD in physiology. I think particularly her specialty is in the heart and the circulatory system. And she is a professor of physiology at Arizona State University, I believe. And she's done work on Reiki practice and looking at biophoton emission from the hands, looking at heat, looking at various factors. And one thing that she's found is when practitioners are starting their practice, in the first few minutes of practice, the heat in the hands actually decreases for a minute or two. And then it increases and like significantly. And that dip, she explains, as that's when you in your mind are doing the things that, okay, say the 5 precepts or whatever it is that you do to get ready, invoke the lineage, or different people have different practices. But she thinks that there's a moment when you first are starting where the blood and the heat are moving from your periphery, from your hands to your brain, to your center, and you're preparing for the treatment. And then once you relax and you actually just kind of like surrender or start treating, then you see the flow out to the hands, to the fingertips. And I thought that's just an interesting finding that maybe related to what we were talking about.
No, it's interesting because in my research, one of the most common sensation that the people perceived was the heat. But I didn't touch them. I was 5 to 10 centimeters far away. But all of them, they had this sensation of heat that goes inside them. So yes, maybe this could really be a hint, that something happened in that way as she was talking. Maybe yes, first you have to concentrate and the energy goes a bit down and then it calms, you invoke, you center yourself and it starts to flow. It's interesting topic. We could really talk a lot of time about it and find always new answers and go deep and deep inside, dive deeper and deep. But I would like now to move to the second question. And it's this, okay, in the West, often people say that Reiki don't have to be paid, okay? Because it have to be something from the heart, love, and if you get paid, you in a way dirty it or contaminate it. But yesterday you bring the topic that Usui took very high fees, and I know that Hayashi did the same. So why you think we have suddenly this big change in the West in which we start to think that Reiki is some things that you don't have to pay, you have to give us gift. But in the origin, and when you bring this topic to people, they don't believe that it's like this. They think Usui went in the streets and start to give Reiki to everybody for free. But you explain it, it's not like this.
Okay, yeah, another very easy to answer question. So
just easy questions for you.
These are the important topics. Yes. So I, for a long time, was not sure about whether they charged for treatments. I know they charge a lot for the training, right? Mm-hmm. To become a member of the Usui Reiki Ryoho Gakkai, to become a member of the Hayashi Reiki Kenkyukai, clearly there were very high fees.
Yes.
And in the Usui system, the fee seemed to be about half up front for, just the initial levels of training. And then when you were ready to move on to Okuden, there's an additional fee you pay. With Hayashi, we see some people pay that whole big fee, which is like a month salary up front for Shoden and Okuden, the equivalent of Reiki 1 and 2. But for treatment, I wasn't really sure. Did they have professional clinics where people paid for one treatment? Did people pay, we know that there were often people were treated for many days in a row. Was there some sort of set fee for a course of treatment? And this is starting to come out more. I mentioned his name yesterday. Olaf Bohm is a German Reiki master who has done a lot of work on historical materials, gathering historical record from the Usui Reiki Ryoho Gakkai. And he's been, I think, both through a combination of hard work and good fortune, able to locate documents that really are unique and without parallel in the historical study of the development of Reiki Ryoho, Usui Reiki Ryoho. And I don't want to give away too much because I know that he has a book coming out, hopefully this year, that has more of the details. But we know that there were fees for treatments, that there were discounts for people who were poor or were able, who were very sick and required lots of treatment, that there were kind of discounts, but there were fees for treatment, which I think also is particularly for people outside of the community, people outside of the society. If you're in the society, I think there's a lot of exchange of treatments, right?
Yes.
Where you go to a meeting and if someone is not well, people are putting their hands on you at the meeting and you're getting it without necessarily paying anything, right? It's because you're part of the community, but it's for people who I think are outside of the community who would be paying. Okay, so that's one thing about early Japan. Looking at Hawaii, where Hawayo Takada brought Reiki, and she was teaching in the Japanese American community, there were people, even in the late 1930s, early 1940s, when she was setting up her clinic there and charging. And meanwhile, I also want to mention, she also had discounts for families. If your whole family took Reiki together, maybe she would teach the grandparents for free, charge for the parents, discount for the children, or something like that. And she was, because she wanted everyone in the family to learn. And so she would teach maybe 5, 6 members of your family for the price of maybe 3 or something like that.
Yes.
She would do these kinds of discounts. But she charged for treatments. She had, and she would be treating people sometimes every day. I don't know exactly the fee structure. She may also have done discounts. Some people were coming to her every day for a month. I can't believe she charged them the same amount as someone who came, 5 times or something, right? That I think that she probably also had flexible payment structures and things like that. But within the Japanese American community, there were people who were critical of her and said, how could she charge for this? This is a gift from, nature, from, the universe, or from, the Buddhas and the Kami, right? I mean, another way of talking about it. And it should be given freely. But in the Japanese American community, there's a strong ethic of reciprocity. No one in that community was coming, getting a Reiki treatment and saying, thanks, that was nice. Of course, they are bringing gifts. They're bringing food, bringing, sometimes money, right? Giving money, saying, please take the, but bringing things to give to the practitioner as an exchange. That's something that's normal in that community. And so I think there was criticism of Takada in Hawaii for the fee structure and the commercialization the commodification of Reiki. But even among those people who were making those criticisms, they weren't necessarily, giving it away for free. Right? They were giving their time and energy to someone, and they were being repaid from that person's heart. So I think the issue maybe comes up in Western society, where I think people maybe have issues with money and thinking that if you do something for money, it's bad in some way, right? That that there's a value judgment on doing something, for a set fee, maybe. There are obviously people out there who charge, not for Reiki, but for other things, tremendous amounts of money for healing practices that, I think there's skepticism about that. There's criticism of that. And I think there's Reiki people who want, as you said, to live in this world of love and light, and everybody is just one big happy human family, and I'm doing my part. But then, as you know, giving away things for free, your time, your energy, is not something that you have limitless amounts of, and I think people struggle with that as well. So I think it's a difficult subject, and I think there's criticisms. For example, Usui's teachers, his students, were upper class people. Is Reiki just for upper class people? And Takata talked about this actually in her memoirs, that there can be a kind of elitism, right, with the high fees. And so I think that flexibility as well, and the way that we see in Japan and in Takata's early teaching, these kinds of ways of working out payment so that people who can't necessarily afford can access, while still giving something. I think that that's a conversation that is delicate, but I think is really important as well.
Yes, she took high fees too, no? The master, it was $10,000.
Oh yeah.
It was.
But then she also had ways of working it out. That, for example, Rick Bachner, who was living very simply, was not making a lot of money, half of his fee, which she allowed him to organize classes, and that money from the classes she put toward his $10,000. So with people who really wanted it, but really were not going to be able to necessarily pay it off in a timely way or a reasonable way, she had other workarounds for some people.
And Takata did 1 year training for the master. You know about it?
Well, so she trained her first 7 months, where she was working at the clinic, right, the Hayashi Kenkyu clinic, from December to May. Oh, so maybe through May. So about 6-ish months. I don't know the details, but I believe she was coming both to receive treatment and to give treatment for some time. And then she became a disciple, and she actually moved in with Hayashi. And then she was living there. She was working there, I think, probably every day. So when you say she studied for 1 year, I mean, I think that it's at least this is from March to May 1936, she was working every single day, giving Reiki treatments and having feedback on her practice. So there was a very intensive period of there was an initial 3 months where she was studying and working there. Then there was another 3 months where she was intensively there all the time, living with them. And then training, she came back for more training the following summer for a couple of months. And then he came to Hawaii, and they taught together for 4 months or something. So if you add up all of that time, yeah, it's a year, but it's a very intense year.
Yes. No, yeah. And when she gave training to the students that want to get master, it was 1 year also.
That
Because
I'm less able to speak to. I think it changed over the course because she was near the end of her life, right? She passed away, I think, unexpectedly, and she had other students she was planning to train, and I think she had students who she had already made masters, but was maybe planning to have a longer apprenticeship period with, right? Come back, see them teach, help them, answer their questions. But she passed away. So I don't think it's really fair to say, what her style of apprenticeship would have been like if she had lived longer.
Thank you.
But there were people though who expressed to her that they really wanted to become a master, and she did let them progress more quickly, and I think with less training than she herself had received.
Okay. Next question. It's about this. In Reiki, in Italy, Reiki was often attacked by the Catholic Church.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And
in the US too.
In the US too. Okay. And we defended saying, okay, Reiki is not a religion, it's transversal to religion, and okay. But if we're going to watch it a bit, I think religion and Reiki, how they are structured, they have big similarities. And you don't think for how Reiki is structured, it's a bit dogmatic, about the ritual. To be a Reiki practitioner, you need to have this initiation or activation or whatever it is. And then you have to believe in this universal energy that is it's smart and know what to do, how to do it. I see in first level, second level, third level. And if you watch the church baptism, communion, and they have 3 steps too, and it's dogmatic. You have to believe in God. You have to have faith in it. This is your field, no?
Yeah, no, I mean, you asked
what do you
I
think
could talk about this all day. Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, I want to point out the term religion, it's not like a natural thing that exists in the world that, for example, we have like a horse, and a horse is a species. It can't interbreed with other species, or if it does, maybe it has some hybrids, like a donkey. But a horse is a horse, and we can define it genetically. It's different from other animals. Religion is not like that, right? Religion is a human-created category. And so when we say this is a religion and that is not a religion, there's no necessarily right and wrong answer to some extent about these things, because it's words. And what is a religion was based on Christianity, right? The Christians came up with the term religion. That's a Christian word. And so when we say something is a religion, it means this looks like Christianity. Right? On some level, and so Buddhism's not really a religion. It's because they want to focus on certain things that don't look like Christianity, that are different from Christianity. And a lot of times it's because they don't like Christianity and they want to say, I like Buddhism, so it's not really a religion. So when people want to say Reiki is not a religion, there's a lot of reasons people say that. But on some level, what they're trying to say is it's not a church, right? There's no, you can be, and actually, no, that's not even that. It's that you can be a Reiki practitioner and a Christian. You can be a Reiki practitioner and a Buddhist, or you could be a Reiki practitioner and have no religious affiliation. I think that's the main anxiety, is about like exclusive affiliation, where you can, like, many people believe you cannot be a Christian and a Buddhist, right? They think, no, that's too, it's there are two different religions. You can't be both. And so I think for a lot of people, the idea Reiki is not a religion, on the one hand, is about exclusive membership. On another hand, it's a political designation, right? In Japan, at the time Reiki was coming up, there were many new religions, and the government recognized some of them, and other ones, it said, no, that's a fake religion, and they're illegal. They made them illegal, and they persecuted them. And so if you want to be a religion, you have to get registered with the government. Right? And we know this from other societies too, right? You get tax-free status if you're a religion, if you're a church, right? And so on the one hand, I think there's an identity issue. On the other hand, I think there's a kind of legal, professional issue. But on the other hand, there's, like you say, we see these rituals, the initiation ritual in Reiki, or the Reiju ceremony. It clearly resembles religious things. We talk about that there's a universal life force power that comes in to make humanity healthy and whole and happy. I mean, it sounds pretty religious. But we say, no, it's not religious, it's spiritual. I mean, that whole idea that there's religion and there's spirituality, and we can divide these two things, and you can be spiritual but not religious. Again, this is a historical idea that's come up in recent decades or century or two, and it's because people want what they see as like the good part of religion without the bad part of religion. They want the inspiration, the ritual, the connection with the non-human world, and they don't want to be part of an institution with dogma and whatever. But like you said, many spiritual groups have their own institutions and their own dogmas and things like that as well. So yeah, how do you divide the religious and the non-religious? It's like, as someone said recently at another thing, it's like drawing lines in the water. It's
It's a good example.
Yeah, so I agree. There's a lot of parts of Reiki that resemble religion, yes, but it's an important part of Reiki practitioners' identity that it's not a religion.
Okay.
And for some of the reasons,
it's a very diplomatic answer. I like it. You make nobody unhappy. Yes, but yes, I agree. In how you said it. It's like this. But then in a way, there has an exclusivity, It means to be Reiki, to say I'm a Reiki practitioner, you need to make this ritual.
Well, I think
otherwise, like a Christian, you have to be Baptist. Otherwise, you will not be a Christian.
Yeah.
It means.
But for whom? There are so there's definitely people out there saying, I am a Reiki practitioner. Oh, who initiated you? Oh, I don't have it. I just do it. My grandmother said that. She when my children would fall down, they hurt their knee, I put my hands on their knee and I do Reiki. She would say that. Because she knew I like Reiki. Well, yeah, I do Reiki. But she never had an initiation. But it's become a common enough word that people, in order to make sense of healing phenomena, natural healing phenomena, some people will say, I do Reiki, even though they didn't have an initiation. On the other hand, there's many people out there who got Reiki initiations, but do other forms of healing and will say, yeah, I am, whatever, a Reiki master, but what I do, it's not purely Reiki, I'm doing my own thing. And I think some people also kind of look down on Reiki. They see, like what you were saying before about, the Reiki people are too, flaky or too money oriented or whatever kind of criticisms are out there. And so what I do, yeah, sure, I studied Reiki, but what I do, it's actually this other thing. Even though I do have my Reiki certification. And of course, there's also massage therapists who may have Reiki training, and they say, listen, I'm doing massage, but I can't stop the Reiki from coming out of my hands. I'm not charging someone, I'm not telling someone I'm doing a Reiki treatment, But clearly, while I'm doing a massage, afterwards people say, wow, that was a great massage. I'm really relaxed. I never feel like that. And there's some, maybe, where does Reiki start and stop? It's not easy. So yeah, sure. There's this tendency to want to say, if you are a real Reiki practitioner, you do this and you do that, and you have to believe this and you have to believe that. But of course, people are people, and there's so much diverse experience out there. Yeah.
This is a big topic, but we have to move on. I would like to add a lot of stuff about it, but I will stop and I will go to the last questions because time passed, and you are really kind to stay here with us and give all your answers. Okay, I think this is related to the last question is related to the one before. As we said, in the West or in Japan, maybe also, it's believed that the ritual Reiju is indispensable for doing Reiki. And it's also said that it opens your channels, or that it activates your channel.
Yeah.
But I was reading the book of Hiroshi Doi, and there is a part in which he said that Usui said, we are all Reiki, no one excluded. So how we reconcile this aspect? If we are all Reiki, no one excluded, why we need an exclusive ritual or even I have difficulties to think that my channel are closed and someone have to come to open it or to activate it. And I love much more the explanation you gave yesterday about Reiju. It's good thoughts, good omen. You want to wish to someone the best. It's a blessing that you give, more than someone comes here, put you the hands on the head. Okay, now you are open and now you are connected with Reiki. And what do you think about it? Are we connected, or really we need someone that comes, I don't know, and open my channels?
It might be helpful to think about the origin of Reiju in Kanjo. So Kanjo, like I was talking about yesterday, is a esoteric Buddhist initiation ritual. The first one, Kechiin Kanjo, that a practitioner will undergo, creates a connection between that practitioner and a Buddha, who can then be the center of devotion for their practice. And the most common Buddha to use is Dainichi Nyorai, who is the cosmos himself. Because Dainichi Nyorai is the cosmos himself, everyone has a connection with Dainichi Nyorai. Everyone is actually part of the body of Dainichi Nyorai. We are Dainichi Nyorai on some level, because that's what everything in the cosmos is. So if you're already part of his body, why do you need this initiation ritual to connect you with him? I mean, I don't know what a Shingon Buddhist would say, a priest would say in terms of the official explanation, but clearly, first of all, it gives you a particular, first of all, okay, the ritual on some level clarifies for you as a practitioner that relationship between you and the cosmos, right? That now formally it's been recognized that you have this connection. It may give you confidence in your practice. I am authorized to do this, right? It gives you a certain status in the community, right? Oh yeah, I got my Reiki initiations. I'm level 1 practitioner. So, I mean, I think there are, on a certain maybe social and psychological level, certain ways that ritual ceremony works in that way. On the other hand, I think part of your question is, was my grandmother really doing Reiki, right? She has maybe a natural gift to heal with her hands. is that the same thing that people cultivate through receiving Reiju, through, right, maybe doing Reiki meditation? And there's certainly a long history of people in the Reiki world teaching people self-initiation, right? The Tomita Kaiji book that we're having translated right now, he has basically a 4-day or 5-day meditation practice that you do, and that's how you learn how to do Reiki. You don't get, actually, there is no Reiju in, or at least not in the book. He doesn't talk about Reiju in that way. Even though he himself surely received Reiju as part of the Usui Deikiryu Hogakai during his training, he evidently thought it wasn't really necessary. And that's from 1930s. So, you know, I think that from early on in Reiki world, the question of is Reiju necessary has been asked. And clearly many practitioners believe we all have this connection. Reiju may help your development on a certain level. If, you know, I don't know, from an energetic perspective, I would love for people to do research and see, you know, try to do some Reiki before initiation, try to do Reiki. And that's not even going to prove anything, because, you know, it could be placebo as well, right? That ceremonies, rituals, they are important psychologically, as I mentioned, they are important socially. And so, yeah, I think that getting initiations, getting Reiju, for people who do it, some people report profound experiences. When I got my initiation, not me personally, but some people report when they got their initiation, they felt this lightning through their body. They felt electricity. They, you know, other people report nothing. And even when they're starting to practice Reiki for weeks, they feel nothing. And then eventually it builds up in them, and it builds up in them, and they start to feel it, and they start to sense the feeling. Other people have been practicing Reiki for many, many years and will tell you, if you become close to them, I don't feel anything. But when I do it, people they feel it and they say, wow, that's amazing. But I personally don't feel anything, right? Some people are more sensitive to these things than others. And so, yeah, I don't know. It seems to me that there are people out there who really believe that they're practicing Reiki without initiations, and I'm not going to tell them they're wrong, you know. But at the same time, how do you then distinguish practicing Reiki and just, you know, being a healer, you know, putting your hands on people and healing? For me, the initiations and having a relationship with a master, learning whatever your master teaches you, that's from, and tracing your lineage back to Usui, right? That your master was initiated by someone who was initiated by someone who was initiated by Usui. That, for me, helps draw a line in the water and say, inside this line are Reiki practitioners, outside the line are healers, even though some of them use the word Reiki to talk about their healing. But, yeah.
Well, I think because, okay, I study psychology, and, you know, the rituals, especially in the groups or association, they was used, the initiation, you know, the initiation, the ritual made someone from not be part to be part of a group or an association.
Right.
In that way, I can really understand it, because you said it, it gives you a status inside the community of Reiki. It means, okay, to enter here, the master have to accept you as student, like it was in martial arts like this, you know, and the initiation could be made in a different kind of way. And they study that much harder was the initiation, more they get affiliate to the group or to the association. And so maybe this Reiju or this initiation, that I like this word, it's a way to enter in the community of Reiki. It's the start of your training, it's the start of your work with this tool, with this energy. and the master, he accepts you in his school and in his lineage. Like this, I can completely understand it, and I like it. I don't very agree that someone have to open the channels or activate some things because we are, I think everybody is activated. And your grandmother also, she put the hand and it flow, and my mother did it with me, and it's something natural that we have. And as you said, we are in the body of the cosmos, we are already, maybe we are not aware that we are. And maybe the practice can help us exactly to do this, to watch who we really are.
Right.
Well,
can I say one more thing though?
Yes.
Because Reiju, right, is something where it's not just initiation though. It's also, it's the reconnection, right? That yes. When you see your teacher, or when you go to a meeting with teachers there, that the teachers can give you Reiju many, many times. And so, yes. And I think my interpretation in part is that it's reenacting the experience of Usui being touched by the cosmos on the mountain. And so, to do this again and again through your development as a practitioner is, I think you have a resistance of saying it's opening your chakras, it's, your channel is closed before and it's open after. I think that's this binary way of, you're either an ordinary person or you're a Reiki practitioner, and there's a strong line between that. But if we think about the idea, that practice is not you do it or you don't, but you are maybe, within our own lives, right? Sometimes we're more engaged in our practice, we're really feeling the flow. Other times we're struggling and we're looking for connection. Sometimes we're just so busy and distracted, it's hard to even remember what you do, and so I think that the Reiju as also an opportunity for reconnection, yes, is another nice way to look at it.
Yes, and exactly. The master, it's not just a one-time experience. It's a work in progress experience, and the master with Reiju brings you time by time more awareness about your Reiki, because it's about this, it's not important about your Reiki or the master Reiki, or no, it's about my Reiki and my place in the universe. So Reiju can be very helpful if it's not used to have a power position, right. Because okay, now I'm the master, I will do on you some stuff, and then, oh, thank you, thanks to you. And no, I think it's more self-empowerment. We need to understand that we have everything we need to rise.
Well, and I think that the meditation, the Reiki meditation, in a sense, is a kind of self-Reiju in a way, yes. Right?
Yes, exactly.
You are allowing yourself to connect with the universe. Yeah. And
exactly. When you practice on yourself, your treatment, it's this, no?
You're connecting with this.
It's a connecting, yeah. You connect yourself with the universe. Yeah. And this is the nice part. No?
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. Reiki self-treatment or Reiki practice is meditative as well, right? Yes. And I think that's an important thing. Yeah. So anyway, we could talk all day.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Maybe the last thing I want to say, I think till we divide some things, we will not catch the point. We say Rei or Ki or this or that, we will not catch the point. It's more inclusive, not separating. So I think this is the real, for me, I'll talk for me, this is the real secret that I'm going to achieve with the practice. And step by step, I get aware that I don't need to be separate from others. Like, I do Reiki, you are not doing Reiki, or I give Ki or I give Reiki, but it's all together. Justin, it was really very interesting to hear you, and it was really, you gave me a lot of insights, and I wish this interview and my questions can help others that maybe have the same questions to get an answer. So thank you very much. And
Thank you for coming with
really,
such good questions. Yeah.
I hope to have you soon again for maybe another interview or for maybe another masterclass. So thank you very much, Justin. I wish you a very good day.
Thank you, Graziano. You too.
Have a good time. Bye. Bye.